published. Hello, Mr. Martin, you're here in the middle. If I can have you speak into the microphone and speak loudly so we can do your test. And we are live currently, we are live.
Oh, he don't speak loud.
Testing, testing. Is that fine?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to, you can take the mic and sit if you wanted to sit with it, okay? If you wanted to sit with the microphone, you can take it off the stands and sit with it, and then we'll put it back when the patrons can ask questions. Right. So as moderator, you can sit down. You got it? You good? You got everything you need? All right. I reserved your seat.
I'm ready.
All right. Ready to go when you are.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the East Cleveland Public Library. Today is our East Cleveland City Council Candidates Forum. We're encouraged by the number of people who have actually came out to attend today and the people who are watching online. Today we're here to listen to the candidates and think about the choices that we are making and what direction that we want to go as a community. The people who volunteer to be public servants are here to carry out the wishes of the people that they serve. But it is you, the people, who have to be responsible for the choices that you make and demanding accountability. As a community, we have assets that city planners all around the world, around the country, they dream about. We have a hub of the Greater Cleveland Transit Authority's system right here in East Cleveland, as well as stops all along the way, which will take you anywhere from East Cleveland to anywhere on the globe. As a large part of our city is Forest Hills Park, which is a beautiful place to find nature and a lot of opportunities for recreation for the entire, it's basically within walking distance of the entire city. We have a diverse housing environment that, if properly planned and thought out, it can be the sought-out home buying destination of Greater Cleveland. It is up to us to decide what our vision is going to be and how we are going to get there. By accountability, let me be perfectly clear. What I mean by that is that we have to make it a priority to attend city council meetings and other organizations and activities that are destined and looking to move the city forward. We're not in a position to just kind of sit back. We don't have that luxury and just acting like it's going to take care of ourselves. Among us, there are people of all different professional backgrounds and training: architects, legal, lawyers, financial, construction, landscaping. We must find a way to work together to make East Cleveland the place that we want it to be, because nobody is coming here to save East Cleveland. We have to take it upon ourselves to save ourselves. With that, I would like to begin the next part of the program by bringing forward, may I take a moment, please, and just introduce the Library Board of Trustees who may be present in the audience today. I see Mr. Omaze, he's here. Carol Shahid, she's our secretary. Dr. Marianne Harris, she's not present today. Mr. Gerald Severa. and Cassandra McDonald and Sheila Hunt Sharpley. Did Sheila get here?
Yes.
All right, hello there, good to see you. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn the opening remarks to Monique Davis. She's president of the League of Women Voters, the East Cleveland chapter.
Good afternoon. I'm Monique Davis of the League of Women Voters of East Cleveland. The League is a nonpartisan political organization for women and men which encourages informed and active participation in government. This forum is a partnership with the East Cleveland Public Library in part of an ongoing voter education effort to encourage active and informed participation in the upcoming election. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to do for East Cleveland. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone to silence their devices, cell phones, watches, and etc. I would now like to turn the event over to our moderators, Dr. Brooks of the League of Women Voters of East Cleveland, and Zaid Rashid of the East Cleveland Public Library's Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda is to do the rules of this debate. And this is going to be a little different from some of the debates that maybe we've had in the past or you have observed. What we're going to do is allow the audience to ask the questions and to come up to the mic. You might want to do it one at a time. And each participant, each person running for office will answer that person's question, okay? And then we will give 1 minute for the audience to ask their question, no more, please. And 2 minutes for each participant to answer the question. Did I forget anything?
No, but for the viewers online that want to submit questions, you can type them in and those questions will be brought to one of the moderators. But please include your name and if you're an East Cleveland resident. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I also take a moment too at this time to introduce the members that are present of the East Cleveland School Board, Dr. Una Keenan. And Dr. Mary Rice is also in the audience. I think too that I just want to take a second to just thank the Executive Director, Carlos Latterman, for the work that his team, Teresa Flood, Ross Cockfield, Stephanie Chambers, Rick Cooper, Sarah Green, and Elmer Turner. They make these things possible, and I think they deserve it.
Also, the East Cleveland League of Women Voters, if you'll stand, all of you helped to put this together with the reception and the work. So thank you for your hard work.
So I guess at this time, do you want to begin the questions or the opening statements? I think would be first from the candidates. So you want to go from here, starting this side. We'll start with Patricia Ann Lahodiak. Please say your name, and then you have 1 or 2 minutes. 1 minute for your opening remark. 1 minute.
Hi, as you
Ross is right there. Timekeeper.
As he said, my name is Patricia Ann Lahodiak, And you don't need to know how to spell my name to vote for me. You just have to find the longest name. Because my last name is Blochowiak. I've been a homeowner in East Cleveland for 20 years and lived in Northeast Ohio for about 30. I served 12 years on the school board. I was born in Wisconsin, and my father died when I was 14 months old. So my mother took the two of us, we had 2 preschool children, and went back to school. So I've been an active volunteer in the area. I've been on the boards of the Union Renaissance and Cleveland Farmers Market. I've been on the Public Policy Committee of the Ohio Academy of Family Physicians. I'm on the board of, I've been on the Education Committee of the City Club of Cleveland and on the Educator Advisory Commission of the Natural History Museum. But I think we need somebody with creativity to change the direction of East Cleveland. I'll try to get somebody to ask me about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person up, and I want to make sure I pronounce your name. Is it Carlissa?
I'm Carlissa. Yep, I'm Carlissa Baby Peterson. I am new to city council. I'm new to politics, period. I'm a social worker currently at Countywood, so I deal with public health and social services. And my passion is mental health awareness and substance abuse. So I've been a citizen of East Cleveland for 20 years as well. I've been an active member in the community. My husband is a football coach. I coach with him for the East Cleveland Chiefs. So I'm very active in the community. I'm running to bring awareness to mental health and substance abuse. Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Yeah, my name is Nathaniel Martin. The greatest honor is an honor to serve, and I find that to be precious. The issues that we face is economic development. We need main groceries, that type of thing. One of the profound issues is a spirit of cooperation between the legislative body, the council, and the mayor, which is lacking and needs a whole lot of work. Also, there needs to be more working with the city council and the school, because the school is very essential to any municipality. We need a charter review commission. It's way overdue. I just, over about a year, got brand new body cams that were brought in about 3 or 4 days ago that will bring more accountability. And lastly, a gun buyback program where you get $100 if you turn the gun and get some of these guns off the street and $150 for a rifle. It's about the people, it's about serving, and I treasure that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. O'Mays.
I'm O'Mays, running for council at large, and I am of the opinion that a leader legislates with compassion, with sensitivity, and with courage and understanding and consistency. But more importantly, we should work together as a council. And I see the needs that's been lacking in the city to bring about some cohesiveness among the administration and the council. Other words, when I say cohesive, working together. There's a lot missing in the city. And after a few years, we won't be able to live in the city of East Cleveland because we will be taxed out of the city. And because of the fact that you're constantly eroding the tax basis, you're constantly tearing down and not building anything. So those things motivated me to run for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Mays. Jacqueline Goodrum, you're the next.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Goodrum. I am an early childhood educator. I've been working for the East Cleveland City School District for 11 years. I graduated from Shaw High School. I was in a marching band. The reason why I'm running for city council is that they say if you keep voting for the same people who keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. And we know what the way East Cleveland is looking to everybody else and the way East Cleveland has been going. So I wanna make a change, I wanna make a change for a difference. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, there comes a time when silence becomes betrayal. So to be a leader, you first have to have integrity, you know, not to embarrass, the city. So I got tired of seeing things that were going on in city council, and it's not about the guys little youth, but it's about you out here, our children, about our seniors. So we need to make a change, we need to make a change for the better. And first and foremost, I'm a member of the Greater Cleveland Chapter National Action Network. I'm the Black History Chairperson, and I'm also the chaplain for that. And I'm also on the executive committee of Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, so I would like your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. At this point is now when we begin to accept questions from the audience. And I think the protocol we would like to follow is if you walk down, you can ask your questions, identify yourself, and then you can ask your question. In the meantime, while we're waiting for our first person to come ask a question from our audience, I just want to make a statement that I grew up here in East Cleveland. I'm a child of this city. I went to Roselle Elementary School, went to Kirk, and graduated from Shaw. And my mother moved us here like in the winter of the 60s. And walking around East Cleveland at that time was like paradise. I thought about all the parks, the beautiful homes, the apartment buildings, and the enforcement of the codes and how East Cleveland was maintained at that time. And the only thing that has actually changed in all of this time is the administration of this community. I have not personally seen, and maybe someone in this audience who has seen it, can share with me what is the development plan for our city. I look at our neighbors to the south, Cleveland Heights. Look at all the construction going on in this environment. Everywhere from Cedar Hill, when you come up to the top of Euclid Heights, where they're building these beautiful apartment buildings, all down through between Meadowbrook on Lee Road. When you go down there, people are out having lunch and they're eating and they're going to different entertainment establishments. Then you just go a couple of steps out of East Cleveland, not a mile, not a half mile, just a couple of steps going west. And I heard a number mentioned by the candidate who's going to be running for, I think it's county commission. He said that over the last, I think it was like 10 or 15 years, over $3 billion have invested in that community. So how is it that the political body that we have in our community cannot take advantage of the assets that we have to build and develop a vision for our city that will allow us to join them in their growth? I can't understand that, although I asked for, I'm asking for direction to understand, but not only why it happened, but where do we go from here? Can we continue each day walking around looking at this and finding that acceptable? Because some sense of responsibility has to be shared by everybody in this room. Because if we don't go to city council meetings and make sure that the people that we put in these different positions do not do the work that we're looking to have done the same way they put you in, they should be taking you out. Go to other communities and watch what happens when people don't move in the direction that the people there want to see. I got news for the people that live here, especially the ones that live in Forest Hills area. Your house value is directly connected to whatever's going on down on Hayden and Eddie Road and the rest of the city, because we all live in the city of East Cleveland. So, as we take these questions and we start to talk about what we are going to do or who's going to be elected, how do we get there? That's the question that I'm asking. How do we get there? We have to have a vision that's different than the reputation that we're currently suffering under right now. Thank you. I'm sorry if I took more time than I should have, but that's what's on my mind.
Well, since you're the one who's asked the question, why don't we answer what we see as how do we get there?
Be my guest. How many minutes does each person have? 2 minutes each person. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, so some of the things that we need to address. One of the things, the main things, is the crime level in the city. And we need to remember that the police are not there to prevent crime. They may do some of that, but mostly they deal with criminals after the crimes have been committed. And what we need is a program for prevention. Crime is committed disproportionately heavily by teens and young adults. So that other communities have found that if they increase programming for their late school ages and for their young adults, and whether that's sports or arts or jobs or whatever it may happen to be, that increasing that kind of programming will decrease both drug involvement and crime. So the first thing I will do is to go after lots and lots of grants for activities in the library, in the civic center, in the churches, in the schools, and wherever, so that those people are kept busy.
Do you mind if I just kind of ask you a follow-up question to that? Wouldn't you think that development, a revitalization of our economy, and opportunities to participate in a growing East Cleveland would also have an immediate reduction on the crime, because crime is a lot of times to be reactionary from the environment that people are living in. So I just want to say that I appreciate what you just said, and thank you for answering my question. And I think that's the last time I'm going to do that, because this will get into a different type of situation than what it should be. But I would like for Ms. Peterson, to answer that question next. I'm thanking you.
So I feel it starts within our government. I feel like if we work together as a government and city council, we can get things done, we can get things moving. But at this point, that from what I'm watching and seeing, like I'm a citizen of East Cleveland. I'm running for office, but at this point, I am a citizen of East Cleveland. And I watch over 2 hours of city council going back and forth, sabotaging each other and sabotaging each other's plans. So in my view, I feel like we have to start within our government before we can see any change in our city. That's what I feel.
Mr. Martin?
Well, I'm glad the question was asked. The city council is a check and balance. We keep an eye on what the mayor is doing to make sure he's doing it right. All government is about process and procedure. The issue that I've dealt with for over 20 years is the fact that the administration think they have all the answers and they can get around the council. That creates a problem. When I did my opening statement, I talked about the spirit of cooperation, but that does not exist because one body thinks that they're smarter than the other or just doesn't give us the respect. We're not there to rubber stamp everything that goes on. I'll give you a good example. This $3,000 thing and this $300 thing that people are getting certificates about. Well, the council recommendation was $5,500 for the seniors. Well, we never really had a conversation about that. That creates an impasse. If there's no communication, you're going to have that. I hear this all the time about the council arguing with the mayor about what we need is people to want to work together. That's why I brought up a spirit of cooperation. If you don't get that, you get the same thing if you put new people on there. If the administration think they have all the answers, and the administration think they don't have to talk to the council, you're going to have that. And you have that now more than anything. I've spoken.
Well, thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
In order to eradicate some of the problems in which we are facing with now, is due to the lack of a vision in the city of Cleveland, also along with leadership and how to delegate authority. Our city does look like some areas look like a war zone. Some places look as if no one lives there. When I came to the city, it was a beautiful city, beautiful place to live. And people was afraid to come through here. But what's going to change it is when you change the leadership. I'll say, I don't like to say you, we changed the leadership. Get people with a vision for this city and to realize how to legislate, how to appropriate, how to authorize. That's the role of the council. It's, to appropriate money to correct these problems that we are faced with. If we continue to go down this road, we will not be able to live here because they're going to tax us out of the city. Because they have to raise the revenue. Secondly, our census has gone down. It also has effect on the school system as well. So it's a rippling effect. Now, if we continue, as I said, go down this road, we will not be able to live here and afford to live here any longer. So I'm saying it's time for a change. Elect Omaze November the 2nd. Come with a vision and see the problem and recognize the problem. Have been there, know how to do it, get it done again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, once again, I said, if you keep doing the same thing with the same people, you're gonna keep getting the same results. First of all, we need to get rid of that mentality, big eyes and little U's. I've never saw the administration have a all-out open forum meeting with the citizens of East Cleveland to find out what they want. What do you need? Ask the people, bring the people together. Put a citizens review board on in each ward. Get them together, find out what they need, get the developers to come in and create different things, create programs for our seniors, for our young children, allocate funds for them so they can have a summer school job like I did when I was a young girl coming up. So there's a lot of things that we can get done, but we need to get the administration with that. It's all about me and my friends, and I don't like you because you didn't go with me, so I'm gonna kick you out, and I'm not gonna let you know about certain things, but I'm gonna let that person down there know. We need to get rid of that, first of all, foremost in the administration, because that's what's been going on. And I can't understand how this is a predominantly black city with the black hair and the way it's looking, like a third war zone. It's terrible, it doesn't look good, and it's a shame that this city is looking the way it is, especially that jail. We need to get better, to do better. We need to start caring about us and not just me and my friends, but us as a whole, and get the citizens involved. Ask the people. Don't get your hand picked people that's going to decide, it's going to help you. Like I said, to allocate and to legislate. That's what needs to be done, and do it the right thing. Not getting agendas under the table. That's been going on.
Ooh.
I have some questions that were submitted to the library board. I don't know if is there anyone now wants to come down and ask a question?
Yeah, there are other people who want to. So let's take them first.
He's going to quickly change the cover on the mic, just for sanitary. Thank you. Please, sir.
We're gonna
Introduce yourself
take
and
this
ask your
side
question.
and then you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we got it first.
Yes, I would like for you guys to have a plan, to tell us what you plan on doing with the city, and what programs we need to have. Because we got candidates that don't even show up. That's ridiculous. You know, and they don't need you don't even need to give them your vote. They don't have enough respect for the city that they represent not to even show up for the debate, because they don't want to be embarrassed.
You have a question?
Yeah, I want to know your plans for the city. What kind of programs do you think the city needs, and what you're going to work hard to bring here?
Good question. Roll. Start.
I have a list of things I would like to do. I would like to have a place where our senior citizens can go and feel safe. It's called an intergenerational program where you get the young and the old to come together, our men and women, to help our young children, our young adults, to teach them different. I know we have all the mechanics and things like that at the high school, but I'm not talking about in the high school. I'm just talking about the whole city period. Have a building set aside where you can teach them auto mechanics, teach them carpentry, work, things like that. I would also like, we need a healthy, viable grocery store, not that crap we got right now. A healthy grocery store for everybody, so we can survive. I would like to, have a skating rink, swimming pool, where our children can have somewhere to go and have some fun. Also, City Hall, that whole City Hall needs to be redone. It's just ridiculous. The way our people who have to go to jail, and they have to be in those conditions. It's a travesty. It needs to be taken care of. I would also like to, have 25 speed limit. Because we don't need 35 miles an hour driving in East Cleveland. You know, when our children get ran over, or elderly crossing the street get ran over, get killed. So those are some of the things I like to do to help property owners get some assistance. Not just wait till it's almost election time and then you sending out letters and stuff. And don't wait till election time to start doing stuff to the roads. What about the off season? You don't see nobody doing nothing. You can always tell when it's vote time, because that's when they're out there doing work. To bribe you so you can vote for them.
So true.
I don't like that. And we can't pick and choose our friends. We have to pick and choose the developers that's going to do the best job for the people of the city.
Very true. That's right.
My plans, my plan is to start doing some rehabbing. Stop tearing down. We destroying, as I said before, our city. In order to track business and these things in, we have to do our homework. And our homework is, as I said before, rehabbing, building homes, bringing up our census. This is very important. In order for us to track other businesses and bring stores and bring in other businesses into the city, they are not going to come where a city is dying. We have to do our work, and as said here, ask the citizen, what do you want? What would you like to see in our city? That's how government operates. And so, if I'm elected, which I think I will be, those are things in which I will institute, as I've done when I was there before, writing legislation that is conducive to the city, that is an asset, not a liability, an asset. We have to learn to respect our citizens. That's what I bring to the table if I'm elected, because I have a vision for the city. We can do better than this. It does not speak well for us as a people that we cannot operate a city and operate it well. So give me an opportunity and I will show you what can happen with us working together.
Thank you very much.
About 8 years ago, I legislated a summer youth program. At the time, the mayor was Eric Brewer. I could not operate that, but I came up with the idea, but I needed the cooperation of the administration. The program went forward. We hired a lot of young people from East Cleveland. They had more respect for the city, and it was successful. Government operates with us working together. Not one council, but 5. You have to have 3 to move something forward. For an emergency, you have to have 4. It's about the body, not one person. We can't implement anything. We can legislate and appropriate and give it to the mayor to carry it out, but we can't do it. Our role is to legislate and appropriate. We give them a budget every year. What's missing is civic engagement. Just past election for the mayor, we had less than 1,000 people vote in a city with 14,000 people.
There you go.
The civic engagement is vital, not only for the school, but for the government, but for our kids. It's about our kids. I do this for the kids. People say, why do you waste your time? Because I don't give That's how council works. Thank you.
So my plan for the city is to, develop a de-escalation program for our school system and for our police force. I feel like, they're not aware of how to de-escalate without violence. I feel like if we trained our officers, and if we trained our, if we brought this, program into our school system, it would help teach people how to communicate with each other without some form of violence. So that's one of my, plans for the city. Also, I wanted to try to develop some place for our homeless people to go, so they don't be sleeping at our Windermere bus stations. We have all these buildings here that's vacant, that can be reused instead of tore down for good. We can probably use some of them for low-income housing to bring people back into our city. So that's one of my visions, to develop our city. It's a de-escalation program for our school system, for our gangs, and a de-escalation program for our officers, so they know how to work with people who suffer from a mental illness or a substance abuse thing, and not thinking that they're out for a threat. So that's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bahovian?
As I said before, one thing that would decrease crime would be more activities and jobs for teens and for young adults. That would make our city be much more appealing to people. Another thing would be support for young parents of children from birth to 5. As we know, the schools, the quality of the schools has a big effect on whether people want to live somewhere. And part of our problem is kindergarten readiness. If the children come to school and they don't have big vocabularies, they can't talk, they don't know their letters, whatever. So we need support for them. I've worked on little free libraries and getting the imagination library. I'd also like to see more home visits and other support for parents of little children. Free university is a concept that I first saw in the 60s. And basically, it's just a system where I say, well, I could teach knitting, or I could tutor math or whatever, and you say, I want somebody to do this, and you say, I could teach how to carpentry, whatever. But that we take the things we know how to do and teach them to people who want to do them. Another thing is trees and beautification. For one thing, it makes people feel happier. Another thing is trees help keep the city cooler and it improves the air quality. I agree with Omaze on the concept of rehabbing more homes. Get them to more and more people, not just the friends of the mayor. Police departments around the nation are experimenting with ways to keep some problems away from the police per se, so that people aren't getting shot up as much. So having a social worker for the police department is something that people have tried in many places and found it to be a satisfactory way of dealing with things.
Thank you, Dr. Bahovian.
Good afternoon. My name is William Fambro. I've been an East Cleveland resident now 15 years and a contractor for over 20 years with the city. The way our political party primary elections are run needs to be changed. Ours is backward, and we just need to deal with that as a community. We need to make the charter change so that our primary political party primary elections work like Cleveland does. We just experienced an election where one name went forward to the November 2nd ballot. And if the mayor or a friend of his just one vote, he wins. And he's already won essentially. However, in Cleveland, we're watching Mr. Bibb and Mr. Kelly come to the ballot together as the two highest vote getters in the political party. And that's when it's determined, not beforehand. And our laws here around political party elections need to match that. We have had this mess up our elections now. It's years running, year after year, and this needs to be fixed. So I would say to council candidates, please consider your weight behind this change. This is a change that needs to happen, and you need to weigh in. The other thing I want to talk about is, for decades now, East Cleveland Council has had issues with getting things done with the mayor's law director and the mayor's finance director. My suggestion would be to elect the law director in East Cleveland and elect the finance director in East Cleveland, and that would help to solve our problems along those lines. I'm interested in your feedback. Thank you very much.
I guess that question would go to you. She had to, is my mic on? In reference to,
Did you have a question?
yeah, he had one question.
Okay.
Yeah, one question, please.
You running this?
Yes, I am.
All right.
The
well,
question
who's
is,
next?
So, who would you like to speak?
Yes,
will you please let me speak, please?
she's running this.
Mr. O'Mays, it's okay if I get the,
I was answering his question.
Yeah, let everybody answer one at a time.
You want to call on Mr. O'Mays?
just any kind of way you want?
Okay.
I hope that you will call on people so that we can have an orderly system.
I think in the interest of fairness, we've been starting at the total ends each time.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
maybe
we're
what we,
That's
what we
fair.
probably should do is start from Mays, and then we go around, and then we'll end with Ms. Goodrich.
Right.
Is that fair?
Okay. Is that okay, Mr.
All right.
O'Mays?
Okay.
To answer your question, Mr. Fambro, in reference to the legislation that happened, the charter change, that's what it means, the charter change piece in reference to the primary for mayor candidates. If I'm elected, by the grace of God, that would be the first piece of legislation that I would change. I wrote the legislation before, and it was in that partisan election for the primary candidates, for mayor only. That's the only primary that we have is for the mayor candidates. I will amend that. It would go to the voters. I will write that legislation to change that to have it a nonpartisan election, whereas everyone would participate, whether they are Republican, Democrats, Independent, or whatever party they belong to, would participate in the primary. So it's unfair for one party, say it's the Democrats, one party to spend money in the primary, and the other parties that's running as mayor, they go to the general election. The only time they have to go out and campaign and spend any money. So that's grossly unfair. I will change it to nonpartisan election.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you.
What has to be done, not just some of what Mr. O'Mays said, is we've been asking the administration to put together a charter review commission to update the charter, which should have been done 10 or 15 years ago. It has to come through the mayor. What you saw happen in this September was there was a charter amendment about 89 years ago. At one point, we did have the two top candidates go forward, but the charter amendment changed it to nonpartisan to partisan. There has to be some changes in the charter. Now, once the charter review commission is put in place, has to be put in place by the mayor, it's voted on by you. okay? It all boils down to your voting. So we need that. It hasn't happened, but it must happen. You saw what happened this primary. We have to have, and hear me very closely, a charter review commission, not only to deal with this, but other charter changes that need to be changed. Our charter needs to be updated. And the administration knows, and the council knows that. But we haven't been able to make progress on that because it's in some people's interest to keep it the way it is.
That's right.
Thank you.
Ms.
Thank you. You can clap. Go ahead.
I agree with Omaze and, Mr. Martin, Nathaniel Martin. I agree that our system needs to be updated. You know, it's benefiting, you know, people like the mayor. So, if we develop something that we can update our system, because it does need to be a runoff, just like Cleveland's. So we need to find a way that we can get together and change the charter and develop that system, because I agree, it shouldn't be like this. I agree.
Thank you.
Currently, we have a very confused charter. The charter says in one place that we have no mayoral primary, in one place it says that we have a partisan primary, and in another place it says that we have a nonpartisan primary. Obviously that doesn't work. And besides that, people don't understand that with a partisan primary, the vote in September, the primary vote essentially determines the mayor, and that when people don't understand that, they think they can still vote for the mayor in November. So I agree with the concept of a nonpartisan primary, and we need to have our charter clear so that it only says that we have a nonpartisan primary and that it gets rid of the other two sections that say that we have something different. As far as the election of the law and finance director, it seems to me that we need to have a system where the mayor does not have the sole control over who becomes law and finance director, who heads all the departments. I personally think that if we had a system where those were elected by the population in general, that not enough people would go into the detail of who has the best training, who has the best ethics. And I would support a system where the council has to have a 4/5 majority to approve the law and finance directors. Thank you.
So once again, this is a prime example of keep putting the same people in and keep getting the same results. Nobody has changed that charter. It should have been changed eon years ago. So we've had people on council and it hasn't been changed. So we can't afford to be what you call ambulance chasers, wait till after something happens to decide to do something. When you first get in there, check the charter, change the charter. I agree with changing the charter. I agree with also having the people elect the finance law and director. Because like I say, you can't, keep your little buddy, giving your little buddy your friend's jobs and nobody else. So that would eliminate a lot of things that's been going on. Nobody has been actually engaging like they should have been, and that's on both ends. That's the citizens and the council at hand, engaging, making sure that people know. Because if I'm in control of everything and I'm skimming you, I'm not going to let you know what's going on, because I want to keep on getting what I'm getting for me and my friends. So I'm not going to tell you nothing. So it has to be a two-way communication thing. So if I get to city council, I will make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed, making sure that citizens know what's going on and not hiding nothing under the table and wait till after everything is too late. Then here we come. It needs to be changed. It should have been changed a long time ago. A lot of things should have been done a long time ago. So now's the time right now to start fresh, start new. We need a new change.
We have our next question, and the first answer to your question will be by Nathaniel Martin, after he asks this question.
My name is Paul Clinton Davis Jr., and I've been here ever since I was 24. I ain't gonna tell you. But my partner over there, what he said was the truth. Everything he said was the truth. And everything she said just a minute ago ain't been taking place. You get in office and you say all these things you're saying, and when you get there, don't do nothing. We've been here before. I ain't knocking y'all down, but we've been here before. We didn't heard everything y'all said over and over and over again. What we want to hear is the plan. That's all we want to hear is the plan. Everybody got a plan. I was here when the governor was here down on Haiti, and you know what he said? Some of y'all was there. Said you people ain't doing your job. And I said, I ain't never heard the governor say it in front of him. And he was right. That's the problem. You're not doing, not y'all yet, not doing the job. And number one, don't talk about the crimes in East Cleveland, because last year was the first out of 20-something years that we had a high crime in East Cleveland. And that's a fact. And the reason why we had it is because nobody wasn't working. You know, I don't want to tell you, you know what it was. But East Cleveland had the lowest crime in the state of Ohio.
Sure did.
And I've been trying to tell people that for the longest. They don't come out to the meetings. She knows. I've been going to the prosecutor meeting for 20-something years. Mark knows. Mark's on health and safety. But when they go to council meeting, everyone's told out. But people in East Cleveland talking about how bad their city is. That's not true. We just ain't got nothing. We're not. Somebody said that man downtown, what's his name, the county? Can't stand it. You know what he said? This city is a poor city. This city ain't poor. We just need a whole lot of things. I started telling him that day, who do you think is paying your salary? We are. You know, I could have smacked him for saying that. But anyway, here's the problem. Y'all better find out what the plan is. That's all we want to know. What's the plan? I'm bypass my question. I said it.
The first thing they're gonna do when they get in office.
Next question.
Hi, how are you all today? My name is Sherry Green. This is a topic that I'm going to visit again and again because it is very important to me. And when I had an opportunity to address the mayor's candidates that showed up, I asked the mayor's candidates the same question. And so this is my preface. I've been a homeowner in East Cleveland for over 40 years. Ever since I moved here, there has been tension and animosity between the executive branch, the mayor, and the legislative branch, council. Right up to this very moment. This infighting has stalled, stymied, and hindered East Cleveland from being a progressive community, and frankly have made us the laughing stock of the state and perhaps the country. Okay, so my question for each one of you is, what will you personally do to repair the relationship between the two branches to move our city forward? I have a second question. If I have time, I'll come back with that one. But again, you've touched on this, but I want to know what you personally are going to do to repair the breach between administration and council. Thank you.
Do we, I start? No, when Mr. Paul Davis, he made a statement to stop with me, so we didn't respond to it. So do I take it from here, or how are we gonna do it?
I think we'll keep the revolving process
So
started.
start with
Ms.
me.
Peterson,
I never responded.
Yes, sir, it's your turn.
Okay, nobody responded. Here's what the deal is, and this is very important that you hear this. It's a two-way street. That is the issue. It's a two-way street. The body of council and the administration. Now, if the administration is not cooperating with the council, that creates an impasse, a problem. Give you a good example, and I hope I'm not redundant. We sat in this building 2-3 months ago and came up with 5 recommendations on the ARP money, the American Rescue Plan money, that you're getting certificates about. We came up with $5,000 to repair the homes. Hear this. This is documented. And $300 to $500 to give seniors. Well, we tried to have a dialogue about this. Is the truth. Because one thing that you know about me, I don't get involved in a lot of that because I think it's a waste of the work is done in committees. We never had a conversation. I was told, and this is for record, I don't want to deal with this Councilman Martin until after the election. That's what I was told. That's a fact. So, you reach out with an olive branch. You continue to reach out, but you're not getting the other olive branch reaching back to you. You're at an impasse. And that's not going to change if, no matter who gets on there, if the administration think they have all the answers, or think they get it around the council. If you read the paper, they even stated in the paper how they try to get around the council. Okay? There's a reason why. There's 5 of us and 1 of him. There's a reason for that. That's just a fact. Thank you. It's a two-way street.
Thank you.
Okay, I just feel, Lord help us.
Please.
As a resident of East Cleveland, I'm watching, I'm not on office and I don't have I'm watching the back and forth. So if I was elected, I will try to make it my business to find a way for us to come to common ground. Because at this point, I hear what he's saying, it's a two-way street. I hear that. But one of these streets has to have common sense. You know what I'm saying? I just don't understand the back and forth. Somebody has to have some common sense and realize what the city needs. And this is not what we need. We do not need this back and forth and arguing and sabotaging each other. It's ridiculous. So if I was elected, I'm going to try to find some type of bipartisan transparency, something to bring us together, because without unity within our government, we are going to fail. Period. Thank you.
There are 2 aspects to the executive and legislative branches getting along. One is it is definitely a two-way street, and if we're really going to get along, both sides need to be part of that. On the other side, we need to remember that each person is responsible for their own actions. And so if we have the mayor not doing his part, if we have the council yelling and screaming about things, either way, it doesn't work. We are going to agree some of the time. Some of the time we're going to disagree. Everybody knows some of the time we're going to disagree. That happens in every family, in every classroom, in every police department, in every city council, whatever. Sometimes we're going to agree and sometimes we're going to disagree. But we need to remember that it's important that we can disagree without being disagreeable. And so if Ms. Peterson and I have different ideas on what to do, we need to listen to each other. I mean, it's always true that each side, each person has to listen to everybody. We have to not have all this name calling, all this yelling. We need to be emphatic when we have an opinion, but not to yell at each other and not to be disagreeable. Maybe the whole group, executive and legislative, could have some kind of mediation session There are lots of ways to approach it, but the important thing is we have to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable and not yell at each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good for you next, and then Mr. O'Mays.
Yes, what I would like to, what I would do when, if I get elected, like I said earlier, I would get the citizens involved. And, cause you need to let them know that. So when you're dotting every I and crossing every T, make sure that they are aware of everything that's going on line by line, what they say precept upon precept, line by line. Let them know everything that's going on. And if city council and administration can't get it together, can't work nothing out, then you recall. Do a recall. Because that will send a message that we, the citizens, we are tired of the mess that's been going on and we need to go. Because there's power in something new. That's what I would like to do. Either do it, get off, what they say, you know what you're good saying. Either do what you're supposed to be doing, what you're elected to do, or get the H out.
Mr. O'Mays?
Yes, I echo not the last, but
Well, I say the H, I say the word.
recall that rescue. But and to answer the question in reference to, well, that took 6 months. He has to be in office 6 months before anyone can recall. But anyway, council plays a pivotal role, and they have somewhat been lack of doing their job is what they was elected as a council. They have the power. They have the authority. They write the legislation. They authorize the mayor to do this, that, or the other, enter into contracts, to pay the money. And if he's not doing it, then you withhold the money. You have that authority. The council has that. Has that authority. Now let me say something about the charter. The charter spells out the duties of administration as well as council. Council has a role in reference to the law director, the finance director, the service director. All of those responsibilities is the council to put the legislation in place, how they define those positions, what they do, etc. So the charter is not old. The Constitution is not old either. It's the laws that we follow. That if you run a red light, you get a fine for it. And if you violate the charter, it's incumbent upon this council to let the people know. If you want to do the recall, you do the recall if you're not following the charter. Neither one of them are following the charter, nor the council, nor the administration. Council has the authority to do these things, and I just hope that council will start doing their job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next question.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Gerald Silvera. For 3 years, I served as chairman of the audit committee for the city of East Cleveland. And one of the biggest issues that I observed during that tenure was that city council on the whole was not engaged in the budgetary process. Financial transparency is paramount if government is operating prudently. What roles will you play and what skills do you bring to the table in terms of being able to read a budget, manage a budget, and provide oversight over the budget of the city?
Question after that. First, we'll start with Ms. Peterson, the whole back, and then we'll go around.
Well, like I said, I'm new to city council, so managing the budget, and the budget should be already there. You know, it should already be a budget. Now the problem is we need to learn where to put the monies and where it's needed. It's a prioritizing thing for me. Like, I just feel like we should be in there when they're talking about the budget. City councils need to be part of this. The citizens need to be part of it. It's not just city council, it's East Cleveland as a whole. So I feel like if we had citizens involved, city council involved, while we're developing the budget for our city, then I think we'll be better off that way. Thank you.
Thank you. The budget begins with numbers, and we have an unfortunate number of people who are not comfortable dealing with numbers. I came from a fortunate situation right after the Sputnik went up. The Milwaukee Public Schools, where I live, started a gifted and talented program and focused us on math and science. Because I was so focused on math and started college thinking I was going to be a math major, I am more comfortable with numbers, and I've tutored math since I was in 8th grade. So I am much more comfortable with numbers and with manipulating numbers and with changing numbers and with making sure they balance than your average citizen. The second thing one needs is to be able to read the budget, to be able to ask for the details. We have a situation where it's been difficult for me as someone not on the council to get the details of where the money is actually going. And if you don't get a detailed budget, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, if all you know is that this amount of money goes to this department and this amount of money goes to this department, that doesn't tell you what you need to know. You need to know how it's divided up, which person gets how much, how much goes for supplies, how much goes for consultants, how much goes for whatever. You need to know the details, and you need to be able to see whether everything adds up the way it needs to be. It's a trivial thing that I found out impresses people when decades ago I got a 775 out of 800 on my SAT math. I mean, is that important? Well, not really, but it tells you that I've been comfortable with numbers ever since I was in my teens. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you answer? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Once again, get the citizens with, I think what needs to happen is each council person, the ward that you're in, get a group of citizens to be involved. Then that way we have more people at the table and go over the budget, go over everything so that they'll know where the money is. Transparency is the #1 thing, and that has not been happening. And if you don't know something, put your pride aside and say, I don't know, please explain it to me. Nobody knows everything, but make sure that it's readable so that you can read it and knowledgeable so that people can understand what's going on, and don't have, certain words where people say, well, I don't understand what this means, because everybody's not on the same education level, but everybody can read it, everybody can write it, everybody can understand plain English. So I would like to get to, like I said, we have different wards, get the citizens involved, come to the table, okay, now let's look over this and see what we need. What do we need? Because it's not about us, it's about the citizens in the first place. That is #1 thing that has not happened, period. It's all about the mayor and council, period. What I want, what you don't get, what I get, you can't have. No, it's about you, the people out here. That's my take on that. That's what I would do.
Mike?
Thank you.
That's my turn. Okay. Budget. Budget plays a key role in the city or any municipality. Here in the city of East Cleveland. The budget is done by each branch of government. They present it to the council as a whole, not in a committee preparing a budget. A budget is done by the council as a whole. They bring in the department heads to discuss the budget as to why are you asking for this kind of money. They have to articulate why they need that. How many employees in your department? What are they being paid? Etc. That's the way budgets are supposed to be operated. Whether it's administration, whether it's the council, or whether it's the court. All entities in the government comes before council. And council sits down as a whole and call in the largest, biggest branch of government, which would be the administration. Bring in those department heads. They discuss that budget. That's not what's happening. When the mayor prepares the budget, when he gets it, I guess from his employees or whatever, they present it to the council, and the council sits there and they have it in committees. And I spoke to them in reference to that. You cannot have a budget in the committee. It is handled in a set days and time for each branch or to come before them. That's the way budgets are handled. It's in the charter, tells you that. So let the record reflect that Old Maids has spoken how budgets operate in any municipality or the government period.
Thank you.
The budget.
You ain't spoken.
No, I didn't speak.
No.
Are you running this meeting, sir? Please.
Let's get along, children.
Okay. 5 departments in city government. There's what's called an estimate of resources. Connect with the county. We have to do all that. We spend more time, starting in basically November, on the budget than anything. It's the most important thing we do, is pass the budget. We meet with the department heads, we ask them questions, they submit things to us. We can amend the budget at any time. We can ask questions, we spend hours on it. It's just the way it is. Once we feel comfortable, then we pass the budget. We have no time limit on it in terms of how much time we spend asking the questions. I can tell you over the years, we spent hours on the budget. Okay, during the course of the year, we amend the budget. Just like we get 13 million this year from ARC money. Well, we have to amend the budget to include that. Okay? Don't forget we're under the fiscal commission, the state fiscal commission, and they monitor everything we spend. We have to follow the process and procedure. That will never change. Okay? It's not very easy, but one thing a smart councilman does is they're not sure about something anytime. They ask the right questions and then they can go talk with the finance director. So it's not like it's hidden. You have to ask the right questions and you have to be focused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Dolores Harris, and I just wanted to share something. One night I was listening on the telephone at one of the meetings that was going on, and they had demolished a house that had caught on fire. And the mayor said it was an emergency that they get this house tore down. Well, he went ahead and tore the house down, contracted somebody without the permission of the council, and told them that they had to pay this man $1 million for tearing that house down. Let me finish. I went to a meeting at my church because we're about to have our church demolished. It's very old and it's able for us to have service there. And the contractor said he wanted $49,000 to demolish the church. So, I'm thinking, why is it that this needed to charge $1 million? So I stood up and I told them about this situation that was going on, the meeting and everything, and then this white guy said, in the first place, when you spending that kind of money, he should have called an emergency meeting to let the council know that the house needed to be demolished and that how much it was gonna cost. He said that that contractor had no business tearing that house down without a contract. You have to have a contract. So he disrespected the council and he disrespected the East Cleveland residents. And that's the problem here. I don't see it changing. But anyway, when he was going around to, when he was running for election and asking could he put signs in people's yards, I said, you cannot put a sign here. So I told him about that meeting that I had sat in on, and this is the truth. Nobody said nothing about that $1 million but Miss Gowdy. She said that we was not going to pay the mayor's friend that kind of money. So when I brought it up to the mayor, he said, well, in the first place, that wasn't my friend. I said, but you didn't say nothing. You the mayor, you're responsible for it. I'm gonna stop. But I told him about that. He didn't have nothing. He was shocked. He thinks all of the East Cleveland people don't have no sense. So I want to know how y'all plan to work that out. I already saw how the older council people worked it out. Like I said, nobody said a word but Miss Gowdy. So I want to know how would you work that out?
Right.
Where you start again?
Miss Patricia?
Right down there, because she was the last person.
It seems to me that if the mayor has a $1 million contract, a contract of that size must by definition be brought before council to be approved. If the council has not approved it before it's made, the council and therefore the city are not responsible for that. That is the mayor's responsibility personally, and it seems to me that that's something for the FBI.
Theft. It's theft in office.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes, that right there makes me just kind of think that, he got a little cut out of it himself. No, I'm just saying, there was definitely a deal made, and then nobody knowing about it, or nobody doing anything about it.
Right.
I agree that, it should have been looked into, because that right there is definitely wrong, and I want to thank Councilwoman Monique for speaking out about it. But yeah, you can't be doing things like that, so, that needs to be investigated, so that I agree with you, Patricia Colon, that should be investigated, because that's definitely not right. There's something wrong about that right there. Yeah, $1 million and then telling people that they have to pay for it. Yeah, so I wonder how much money he was, promised to get out of that deal. Because I think there's a lot of that ain't going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, but what do you do about it? That's
The
the question.
The charter stipulates that the mayor is authorized, or administration is authorized, to spend $25,000 without coming before council. The state, if we are silent on the issue, then the state, we refer to the state when the charter is silent. So since the state raised theirs to 50,000, that's all that the mayor is authorized to spend, $50,000 without the consent of council. Anything over that has to come before council to authorize him to enter into that contract. Now, if he spent $100,000 and did not come before council, and council did not authorize him to spend that, then he could be brought up on charges, or they pay it back, or deducted from his salary, or from his budget, or whatever, in years to come. But that's what I said about the norms that is written for us to follow. The charter is the norms that operate all branches of government from that perspective. And that's the role, council plays a pivotal role here. And I said that earlier on in speaking. Council authorize, council appropriate, council legislate, and they are to follow them. If they do not follow them, then when they spend their money, they have to come before council. Council say, how do you spend that money? Did we authorize this? Then you deduct it. That's where you have your power also flow from that perspective as well. And anyone can sit in on the budget here. You can't do it behind closed doors. It has to be open. All budget has to be open to the public. So, there it is.
Let me make it plain for you, please. The charter says 2,500. We have to go before, the charter, the city charter, the high revised code in terms of the state, what Mr. O'Mays alluded to, and Dr. Gloria, is 50,000. If it doesn't follow that process, because I talk about process procedure, then something's wrong with it. Here's what I want you to hear about Mrs. Harris' concern. This council has not voted on that. We spent a whole year with the issue because it came to us late. We wanted to know why this was going on. I remember it very vividly, very vividly. We have not, and I state this for the record, voted on this. Period. Because we couldn't get the information. Then we got a pack of this stuff after pressing them. We talk about working together, pressing them, this unit kingdom, to get that information. Okay, but we never got back together. So the council, for the record, Ms. Harris, the council has not voted on the amount of money that went to whoever corporation it went to, because we didn't get the answers, and then we never came to a vote. So if it didn't come for a vote, then it's not legal. Right. We have spent a lot of money with lawyers trying to work things out, which is to the detriment of all of us, because we have to pay the lawyers for their time.
Yes.
But in closing, this city council, not just Martin, but the 5 on there right now, have not voted on this. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
So, what I would do is I'm coming into this position with your votes with fresh new eyes. So I would try to work with the mayor, try to figure out why he's not bringing this stuff to council, or what's the reasons why he's hiding things under the table and things like that. I just feel like people need to swallow their pride. And in order for us to work together, somebody has to be that middle ground, and that's what I'm coming to do. I'm coming to see what's the reason, why. I want to work with you. I want us all to work together. So my goal is to get in here and figure out why, so we can work together. I want to talk to the mayor. I want to work with the mayor. He's our mayor. This is where we are right now. So to keep on trying to figure out a way to get him out of here or to do this and that, that's not helping the city. So what I'm thinking is, we need to figure out a way, swallow our pride, and work with this mayor, period. Thank you.
We have another question.
name is Dawn Jones, and my question is, I'm also going to talk about transparency because at the mayoral debate, the mayor mentioned that he was going to let the residents have a say in the $26 million grant money that he got. Okay, so we only got 13 million. But I would like to see a newsletter coming out with how that money is being spent. We also want to know about the $4 million that he got. How is that being spent? And also about the red light camera money that they're getting. If somebody on council could maybe get some publishing skills to do a newsletter and let us know every month what's happening. We also need someone on council who's adept in real estate, because the city has done some very, very shady deals in real estate, and we need to know, there should be somebody on council, or there should be some kind of committee, or maybe you want to put something in the charter to where when they're selling city-owned real estate, that council needs to approve that. I mean, I've given Councilwoman Gowdy information on people who are trying to obtain land, and she didn't even know anything about it.
Thank you. Is there a question?
Yes, transparency. I want to know, what are they going to do for the people to let, that the council needs to approve, additional approval, and not just the mayor, for people that are trying to acquire real estate, whether it be a lot or an abandoned house. There needs to be transparency, and council needs to be involved in that. What are they going to do about it? Are they going to change the charter? And, you know, to get adept, to get your skills up there so that you can legitimately recognize a shady real estate deal.
Okay, thank you. You want to get started with it? We finished up here. Now it's your turn.
Speaking on that, like I said once before, when you getting the residents involved, when you know, to cross every T and dot every I, the transparency, that's the key factor that's been missing. They need to be held accountable and let the citizens come up and know what's going on, involve them in, like you said, a newsletter or whatever. You shouldn't have to wait until you read about it in the newsletter. If something comes up, it should be known to the public. It should be made public. The public has a right to know what's going on, because we pay, the citizens here pay taxes, the homeowners pay taxes, and you have a right to know what's going on with our city. And so that's just been the key issue that's been missing. There's been no transparency, and things have been done behind closed doors. You know, so I'd like to see the mayor being held accountable for things like that, and demand, come up to City Hall and demand that things need to be set in order. And like I said, if you said it takes 6 months to do a recall, but send letters and say, you know what, this is what we demand, and we're going to be watching you, because if you don't do it in 6 months, we're going to be ready to recall you. If you start putting the fire to the feet and let them know that you're watching him, and city council, that you're watching them, then somebody's going to get involved, because nobody wants to be recalled, so they're going to start doing something. So you have to start holding people accountable, not just the council and the mayor, but everybody, the citizens come together and demand that we need transparency, or you're all going to be getting rid of it, because it can happen. That's my take on that.
All monies that come into the city should be authorized by the council to accept it, and if there aren't any strings attached to it, the council does that, attaching the strings to that particular money, how it to be spent and where it to be spent on. Every penny. If you go and give $10 now, the council has to authorize the finance director to accept it. And if the finance director is paying money without the authorization of council in reference, receiving money, and he is bonded and sworn to uphold the law and the finances of the city. So if he's, the mayor coming down spending money, he getting money and he writing a check, he also can be held responsible because the council did not authorize him to spend the money and how it to be spent. Now, in reference to the money that we receive from the federal government sometimes have attachments how the money is to be spent and what is to be spent on. And if it does not, and if whether it come from the government or whether it come from a private entity, all monies that comes to the city must come through council. The finance director must notify council they have the money and to accept the money. They authorize him to accept it through legislation. That's the way it's done. If it's done other than that, it is done wrong. And council somewhat has derelict in their responsibility and have allowed administration to be council as well as mayor. And some of them don't know their job. I'll just put it that way.
Thank you.
And that's it with you.
Transparency. Don Jones, thank you. Newsletter. Whoever, there was a couple of newsletters before the September 15th mayoral primary. Who's doing the newsletter, they spin the newsletter the way they want it to be done. My recommendation is that the citizens put together a newsletter. Okay? That's the only way it's going to be objective. Right? I've seen a number of council people try to do newsletters, and it's all spinning toward the way they want it to be spent. Okay? Transparency, government by law is transparent. Now, whether they share the information with us or not is another thing. And I think Ms. Crane brought up the question about us not agreeing on everything. This is where we have conflict with these kind of things. So it is agreeable, disagreeable, but it's not a perfect situation. It would never be. It would never be. So I'm for a newsletter, but my experience has been I'd rather for the citizens to come up with it than for somebody on council or the mayor and they put their own spin. Okay? And he spin it in such a way where it favors what he wants you to hear. Okay? You still have a civic responsibility, and this is where we come up short. Besides the voting, coming to the committee meetings, that's where all the work is done. That's where we can really go at each other. So when we meet in front of the public, we look like we have some sense. So, take that all in consideration. If you have people on the council that don't have integrity, that don't care about people, for the people, by the people, nothing's going to change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clap, it's good.
Thank you. So I feel like we should start putting a paper trail on city council and the mayor. Like, only way for us to know what's going on if we start, give us receipts. Show us what you're doing. As far as with the newsletter, maybe that's something that can go in the newsletter monthly. We spent this money on so-and-so, so-and-so. Give the citizens a chance to approve what you're going to spend the money on. You know, I think that's part of the reason. That's part of transparency. If we all get together and figure out what we're going to spend this money on, and if the people who can't show up for the get-together, maybe we can put in a newsletter so people can know and we can have receipts, and there will be no question because it's in black and white. Thank you.
Excuse me, after this Plahoviak, we can take, based on time, we probably can take one or two more questions at the most. Then we will have the final statement issued by all of the candidates, and because we're getting close to running against the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Transparency is an essential part of government. It is required by law. In my past, I've put out a newsletter. I've written for other people's newsletters. I've edited professional papers, plays, newspapers, I've written letters to the editor that have been published in professional journals and in the Plain Dealer and other places. So I think doing that is an essential thing. In other cities, sometimes the League of Women Voters has put out summaries of what happens in meetings. And there's also a group that's doing that in Cuyahoga County Council meetings and the City Council meetings. But regardless, we can't be accountable unless we get the information. So if the mayor would spend money and not tell the council is not accountable for that. The mayor is accountable, and the mayor is required by law to let us know. Some things we have to approve. If it's over $50,000, then it is required by law that we approve that. If he doesn't bring it before us, that is his responsibility and his violation of the law. So, as far as the citizens approving, when it comes to budget matters, the citizens approve the budget via their votes for council members. And we are accountable to the citizens in the election process, as is the mayor when he does things that aren't being transparent. But regardless, I agree entirely. We need to have a newsletter that is detailed and accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll end with 2 more questions, and you'll only have 1 minute to respond. Okay?
Okay, excuse me for a moment. You have, Dr. Rice is your, and then I have one here.
And there's one here.
And you have another one there?
And one here.
Okay, if you've asked one question already, in the interest of time, we won't be able to get to all.
Okay.
So we'll take the 3 people that have not had an opportunity to ask a question. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Or good afternoon, rather. I think I'll be real quick. Actually, I have 3 questions. Please feel free to answer 1, 2, or 3, or all 3 if you so decide. My first question is, how will you work with police or the police department to obtain more minority police officers for the East Cleveland Police Department? That's question 1. Question 2, housing evaluations just came out. How will you work to raise the values of current housing stock in East Cleveland? Some of you gave some summary kind of answers, but when you answer my questions, I want you to say, I will. Third question. Progressive cities have city councils and mayor's office who work with the schools. As I said, each one of your questions, whether you answer 1, 2, or 3, or all 3, would you please begin your answers with, I will. Thank you.
To answer the first question, I do have some concerns in reference to that as well. And I have spoken with the police. Oh, I will. Thank you. If I'm elected, and I thank God I will be, if I'm elected, I will see that we hire more people of color on our police force.
And I want to see that.
Because I have spoken in reference to that. I said every city, the fire department, the police department should reflect the city.
Yes.
And ours do not reflect the city, period. And I've said that publicly, and so whatever I say now, they'll say, well, he said that to us. And they tell me they can't find them. I said, because you're not looking for them. Because we have a training program at Shaw High School, and then community college has some there as well. So they're not looking for them. And they have compromised their position, so therefore they keep people in that go along with them.
Okay.
I have and I will work with the schools. Monique is back there. Dr. Rice, you know I'm probably one of the more active council person when it comes to the schools. So that's been going on for years. The police. The issue we have with the police, and I'm pro-African American, but the issue we have with the police is the testing. Because I've asked these questions for years. I say, why aren't we getting more minority on the police force? Well, we're told, public, is that they're not passing the test.
They do
So,
it in Cleveland Heights.
but I met with the Black Shield about 5 months ago, came up to the school, you know, to come up with a program where we can, these kids that are coming out of high school that maybe not be going to college, can get the testing and get the pre-prep that they need so that they can test. But that's the barrier. The other thing is, we got to be careful about the African American or Caucasian, whatever the case may be. Because if you remember, 3 months ago, they stopped a person, and I was concerned about it, and they took their money. These were the East Cleveland police officers. They took the money. And I looked at it and saw it on the paper they were African American. So it's about integrity.
Thank you.
It is.
I will.
Can you say the third question again?
The third question was, progressive cities have mayors and city councils that work with the school system. How will you work with the school system?
Okay, I thought it was the housing question.
Oh, the housing was question number 2. Housing evaluation just came out. They did. And East Cleveland housing stock went down. My house went way down.
Well, I feel like the thing with that is we need to develop. I apologize. I will try to develop some type of program that will bring our housing values up. Part of the reason is what our city looks like. I mean, it's not so much as the abandoned houses and things like that. It's the look of the city.
Dirty.
It's dirty. Would you want to bring your family into this city? I mean, I live here, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, if I was somebody on the outside looking in, we have to develop, we have to beautify our city. That would be part of the thing that I would try to do to bring up our housing values. Thank you.
The easy one first. I will continue to work with the schools. Most recently, I took in a bunch of supplies to the art teacher. I have volunteered as a reading tutor. I have volunteered in the gardens that have existed. I will continue to work with the schools. I will attend meetings whenever possible. Regarding raising the values of property, location, what determines that? Schools, crime, and beauty. So, schools, I already discussed my thoughts on getting kindergarten readiness. I already discussed crime prevention, drug prevention, and beautification, flowers and trees and all of those things are important. The most difficult one is encouraging minority on police. And of course, we need to continue encouraging our students to take the police training in Shaw High School.
Thank you.
I could say more.
If elected, I will work with the schools district. I would also get a lot of parents involved in working with the school district and the school board. I'm a result of being an educator because of Title I. And because Title I helped me as a parent raise 5 children, gave us power, gave us information, and gave us the knowledge to be able to do the things that needed to be done. So you have to get that, that's a very important piece. I will also, with the homeowners, allocate funds that can help beautify homeowners' houses and abandoned houses. Get somebody to come in and businesses come in and change it and open it up and bring some real things in there that people can be proud of. Businesses, people of color, as far as the police, I would like to, I will will encourage our people, young people, to take the test, the pre-test, and I will encourage those older ones to speak out and get applications and try to see if we can get people involved and interested, because this is our city, and these are our children, and these are our seniors that we need to look after. So I will do everything in my power to make that happen.
These are our last two questions. One here and then one on the other side.
I'm too unlike, Dr. Rice. I have 3 questions you can ask, one, all, or, you know. One is, how or what do you currently do, counsel, to, check the mayor? I hear that he runs ramshack, or you say that he does, that you feel like he's out of control, but what do you do currently to, check the mayor and make sure that he's well within his guidelines of running the city? My second question is, do you think that it is time for the mayor's position to have a raise? And if so, what dollar amount? That brings a level of integrity into the position. If you, like for other mayors or other cities, the mayor's position make a lot more than our current mayor do. So that kind of makes our other mayors or mayors in the past take on several positions. I'm the fire chief, I'm this, I'm there, you know, just trying to make up one salary. And the third question is, the money that was allocated to East Cleveland, the $13 million, do you think that the money should have been spent towards economic development or to be given to the homeowners?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, both on the 13 million. What was your other? You asked 3 questions. Give me the other one. The first one.
Mayor salary.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that question up. Hear this. It's funny that you brought that question up. If you vote, it is on the ballot. November 2nd. A raise for the mayor and a raise for the council. It's on the ballot. And I want you to hear this because it's important. It's not about the person sitting in there now. It's about the future of East Cleveland. Okay, he can't work around everybody making more money than him. So his salary is going to be, if you vote, his salary, check it out, it's on the ballot. I read it this morning. And the council hasn't had a raise in 30 years. Okay, you're not going to get the kind of people you want running for this office at getting a check for $300 a month. And that's basically, we get less than that. The mayor and all his department heads make more money than him. So it's on the ballot. I pushed that it be on the ballot, looking for the future. Now there was a third question. I want to get to what was your other one?
How do you hold the mayor accountable?
Okay, you have to reason with them. I go up there, and real short, I go up there and talk to him and say, look, bro, okay, this ain't going to work. I think you can't have your way. You can't be a dictator.
Thank you.
I do that. Okay?
Thank you.
It takes reason. I just
have
want you
to
hear.
stop.
And you ask me questions. Thank you. I stop. Okay. Let me get it in. Okay. Thank you.
But I feel like we should put the mayor in a position to where he has to come to council. And if he doesn't come to council, then he will just have to face some type of legal trust. I feel like that's what I'm not in council right now, but the way to hold anybody accountable is to put them in a position that they're going to be held accountable. He's doing these things because he feels like, in my mind, that he's not going to be held accountable. So if I continue to do stuff and nothing happens to me, I will keep doing it. So that's one of the things I will do for the mayor. Somebody got to step up and hold him accountable, period. The next thing, for the other question, I think, far as, what did you say, the raises, the mayor raises and things like that. You know, at this point, people do need raises, but if you're the mayor of the city and the people that's on city council, we're here for the city. We're here for the people. If you don't have a second job and you need this for your first job, that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't think we should be living off our citizens. I feel like we should be I have a job. I currently am a social worker at County. I'm not here to run in council for money. I'm not here for that. I'm here for the citizens. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
So question number one was, how does the council check the mayor? One is that the council votes on the things that the mayor brings before the council. Can vote them up, can vote them down, and I think that voting things down needs to be used more often. But when the mayor does not bring things in front of council, then it is council's responsibility to have resolutions that say, no, we didn't approve what the mayor did. And we also need to publicize those things with the residents and with the media in general. Transparency again. Do I think the mayor needs a raise? Ideally, the mayor and council would get a raise. I would like to see the full budget before I make a final decision on that. And as far as the money, the Plain Dealer had an article that said the mayor was essentially bribing voters by the way he was handling the money, and I think that there are a lot of things that we could have done for the city and in general that would have been more beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you. This is our final question.
Come on!
Come on. Well, did you get a chance to answer?
Oh, we got two more.
What time is it?
We got two more.
Okay, please, okay, let's have order. Please, you have, Ms. Goodrum and Mr. O'May still have to answer that question, right? Okay, after that, we have one more question. We're gonna have a brief period for each one of you to answer, then we will go into your final statements, and then we'll let people walk out this door. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to agree with Patricia Mahovic on as far as putting something together in writing for the mayor to make sure that he is held accountable for that. The economic development, that $13 million, I would use some of that for that economic development for that, because that's very vital to the city, and to use some for the homeowners as well. But the raise for the mayor and council, I would like to see more about that, just to see and to make sure that it's not being put on the ballot just to get you some money and then extra money and you do nothing. So right now I would need to support that, because there's like in Cleveland there's issue 24, so it's questionable. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would ask for more information on that before I would make that decision to say yes for the raise.
Thank you.
Final answer, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Number one, checking the mayor. The mayor shall attend all meetings, whether they're committee or regular meetings. Shall, not maybe or will. Shall, that's what the charter says. Number two, raise the salary. Right now, where are we gonna get it from? And raising the salary for council is a part-time position. It's not a full-time position. You can hold over an employee. $13,000. It was earmarked as to how it was to be spent, and that's what it's to be spent on, and not what someone else wants to spend it on. It was for aiding and assisting people in the homes of rehab, in the homes of whatever they have. So that's what the money was allocated for, and it is also incumbent upon the council as well as administration to adhere to those norms that was allocated by the federal government. I think I answered all three questions.
Thank you, sir. We have one final question, and then we'll go into a 30-second closing comments from each candidate. Thank you.
Okay, one of the key things that I wanted to talk about that's a concern to me is that about these lawsuits. We're not paying these lawsuits. As a result of that, as we have had a lot of corruption with a lot of black men, black women being tortured by our law enforcement agency, now to a point that lawyers is not taking cases now. Do you realize that right now we're living in a third world country right now? Nobody. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. So with all that being said, it's like, what, is you guys gonna do? Is you gonna call in Kent Smith and make the state step in for the ethics that's being violated? Because to a point, no, the council is not getting the job done. That's one thing. The other thing is we got, council people been driving around in city vehicles like it ain't no tomorrow. That's raising on taxpayers. Vehicle been destroyed, tinted windows been pitted on vehicles, people being pulled over about tinted windows, running from the police about tinted windows, but our city officials got tinted windows on city vehicles. The other thing is, that I have an issue with is the long standing of our council. I think that we need to have it to a point where we need to put a time limit on things and hold each other accountable. Now, I got this in my mail, and I don't know for sure, and I have to ask this question to Councilman Martin. Did this come from you, this letter right here? So if it came from you and it came from a city letterhead, why is you using the city's money to send out this, and we talking about transparency and integrity? Hey, I'm gonna let you answer that, but I wanted to know that you put your label up on the city and this 50 cent, how did this get done and why is we paying for this, for your campaign?
I'll be glad to answer.
Go ahead.
Can I take it now? Okay. It takes 58 cents to mail a stamp now. That was an old letter. That's why I put my own in, and I took care of that. If you look at the mailing that I sent out, most of them have to have my stamp on it that I paid for. I paid over $1,000 to mail out stamps. Now, what was the other question that he asked? I don't remember. What was the other one? Most of the lawsuits are caused by police and police interacting with citizens, and they're up in the millions. We can't pay them, and it's an unfortunate situation. What happens is they work out a payment schedule, and I don't know if they meet that, but if we were to meet the lawsuits that we've been facing over the last 15, 20 years from police misconduct, we wouldn't exist. It's just an unfortunate. And what was the third question, Twan?
That question I was asking, what is your guys gonna do? Although that you can't pay the lawsuits, how is y'all gonna bring in the state to come in and assist? Because we can't keep living like this. If somebody get violated, their rights get violated by the police, and nobody is, as far as a lawyer, gonna take these cases. Anybody right now can walk out this room right now and get beat up and robbed by the police, and the lawyers is not taking the case. That's a concern to me. That's the biggest thing that out of everything we talk about today, that right now we living in a third world country. We cannot go back like that and face these police officers that's only been on the road, Nathaniel, for only 2 weeks, that could be beating us up, robbing us, and doing all kind of unethical things. And we don't have no plan as to what we're going to do to get these lawyers to start getting paid or getting Kent Smith and them and holding our mayor and our police department accountable. That's all I'm, wanted to know from all you guys. That's a big concern.
What we can do, Kent Smith can help, and he's a good friend of mine. What we can do is reach out to them. I've been to the county prosecutor about a number of these situations. It's a difficult situation. Our major problem when it comes to all this, Twan, you hit good questions, is the economics of the situation. They tell us, well, you don't have the money, there's not too much you can do, and when we go to complaints with, I was down at the prosecutor's office about 2 months ago related to something you brought up, I'm trying to stay out of it, is that they're only going to do so much. It's an unfortunate situation. What we've got to do is increase our tax base over the next 5 years, get people to move in the city, build home, and then we have economics to deal with. That's what we got to do. Thank you.
All right. As far as the lawsuits, I feel like I'm not sure how we're going to start paying those lawsuits. Like I say, I'm new to city council, but I do know that if we start some type of de-escalation program, training our officers on how to work with people of color and people who may have mental illness, substance abuse, or something, that everybody is not a threat. Everybody does not need to be shot, killed, beat up. Everybody don't need that. So I think it starts with us working with our police department, training them, and showing them how to work with our people. That's what I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as far as the police and causing problems, yes, training and de-escalation, also anger management would be a useful thing, that there's muscle relaxation, lots of things you can do to help them deal with the stresses of being on the police. And obviously, we have to increase the tax base. And when I talked about the plans that I had for the city, decreasing the crime, increasing the kindergarten readiness would increase our likability for outsiders. Also beautification, and those three things would help increase our likability. Paying the lawsuits, I mean, they're beyond what we can do. I don't know how to come up with that money. I have no plan for that. We need one. But as far as councilmen driving the city vehicles, that's something that the mayor is allowing, and to the best of my knowledge, that is not legal, and he should stop doing that.
Thank you.
I would like to see a citizen police review board. To hold the policemen accountable for that, because there is a lack of respect from those officers. And so when you hold them accountable, then things will start turning around. So that's the main thing, to get that in place. Also, with city council members driving vehicles, yeah, you need to hope, they need to be held accountable. Put them on blast. Put them on blast. Because, you can't just, get in city council and do what you wanna do. It doesn't work that way. So, everybody needs to be held accountable for it. That's my take on that.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, the police operate under the auspices of the administration, and you have to hold the administration accountable for what they do. That's not council's responsibility. Council is to appropriate monies for them to operate. But council does have a say because they represent the people. And if the people are unsatisfied with the police service, then you have that, the council has that opportunity to express that to the mayor. And if it doesn't, you say, well, you can't get rid of these people, we will remove you. And the raise, what was the other one? The car, there in the ordinance, there's the mayor as well as the council to use the car during administrative service, to take it home. When he goes home, he must park that car, get in his own personal car. And they allow him to ride up and down the street, go and campaign and everything else in the car. Same goes with the council's car. Same thing. The mayor does not have the authority to delegate a car to any branch of government. It comes through the council. And the last question was,
thank you.
That's it, I guess.
Okay, now as we move to the closing statements, if we have a hard 30-second stop. When he raises the thing, would you please cooperate? And at the end of that 30 seconds, please stop and we move to the next person. And that will conclude our day. Please be, where are we starting?
Yeah. Where? Yeah, down here.
Where you start?
Thank you to the women voters of the library for holding this. I think it's been a very valuable discussion. I think we've talked about a lot of interesting things. When Councilman Martin talks about increasing the tax base, what we need to remember is that one doesn't increase the tax base by trying to increase the tax base. One increases the tax base by trying to decrease crime, improve the schools, make the city more beautiful, make things more ethical. And those are the things that you've heard my plan, and I ask that you vote for me. My name is Dr. Patricia A. Blahovia. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Carlissa Bay, running for city council at large, and I feel if we continue to go down this path, our city is gonna be a disaster. I feel when you get ready to go to the polls and vote, don't vote on my experience. Vote on what has been happening with the experienced people in office right now. Please don't vote on my experience, and my goal is just to make East Cleveland great again. Thank you.
Thank you.
The bottom line in any kind of government is about public service. Public service is imperfect and always will be. We're here to serve the people. I'm here to serve the health, interest, rights, and needs of the people with all my flaws and all my intellect and all my prayer. I have spoken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you for holding this debate for council. I appreciate that very much. A man with a vision. Our city is falling apart if we do not check it. And it's incumbent upon you and us to lead and to vote people whom you feel is qualified to lead this city and to move this city forward. Because other than that, it will be Katie Bob the door. So I ask you on November the 2nd, please remember to vote for Old Mays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Woodruff, you have the last word.
Thank you everyone for having this forum. My name is Jacqueline Goodrum. I am on the ballot to run for City Council Ward 3. And I want to bring restoration back to the city. I want to bring integrity back to the city. I want to bring transparency back to this city and honesty. So vote for me. I promise you that I will do everything in my power to make sure that you know what's going on. I will not withhold any information from you. Because at the end of the day, I am accountable to God for everything that I do. And I want God to smile at me at the end of the day and say he's well pleased with me, the work that I'm doing for you. That's my
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to especially thank the Friends of the East Cleveland Library. They have a table right outside the door when you go out. Please stop by and check out what they're discussing with you. And I also want to say once again that the East Cleveland Public Library stands here to serve the community of the city of East Cleveland in any way we can. We have a very qualified staff, and now we're doing this, and we will continue going forward to do everything we can to move the city in a positive direction. And please, don't hesitate to call us, and we can work it out to help you. We'll do it in any way we can.
I want to thank everybody. And my name, by the way, is Benavela Leafia Brooks, and I am running for the East Cleveland School Board.